Hello and welcome to today's presentation on free drug resources. Today we're going to focus on identifying open access drug resources. We're going to show you drugs at FDA.gov and a few other sites like DailyMed and other reliable open source sites provided by government agencies. As a member of UK, you have access to paid subscriptions of resources like Lexadrug and Embase that you might not have later in your regular practice after you graduate. Therefore, it's imperative that you learn about open access resources that are reliable that you can use for free without needing a subscription plan later. Many of these are provided by government agencies like the Food and Drug Administration. First and foremost is Drugs at FDA, which is the FDA's main site for updating drug labels and other documentation. DailyMed, provided by the National Library of Medicine and the NIH, is more comprehensive than Drugs at FDA in some ways, which you'll see momentarily, but it might be slightly behind in its updates. It's still vastly more up to date than sites like drugs.com, however, so you should still use it ahead of that. And then there are other sites like the Dietary Supplement Label Database and FDA Drug Approvals, whose titles are self-explanatory. Quickly before we move on, I'd like to remind you about other open access resources we've already mentioned in these videos, like the FDA Orange Book and Purple Book, PubMed.gov, and the ECRI Guidelines Trust. All these resources are freely available to you no matter where you are or who you're affiliated with, so it's important to bookmark them and remember them for the future. Drugs at FDA provides the most up-to-date information on prescription, generic, and over-the-counter drug products approved for human use. It's good to remember, though, that it does not include anything to do with FDA-approved products that are regulated by the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, like vaccines or blood products or gene therapy products. All that would be in the Purple Book, which you can find in a previous video in the series. To access Drugs at FDA, you can either Google it or you can go to the Pharmacy Research Guide. And in the PharmD section, under drug information, you will see a number of these resources, some you've already used. And if you go to FDA drugs and scroll down, Drugs at FDA is on the left-hand side. Searching is very simple. This is a very basic database. If I search for EpiPen, I get a few results. And if I click into it, what you will see is a number of products that fit this category. I can open sections that include approval dates, history, letters, labels, reviews. You can see a bunch of labeling here. And then it also has a section for therapeutic equivalents here as well, which is important to remember. And you can see that there is not one for EpiPen EasyPen. There are no therapeutic equivalents, but there is one for the EpiPen Junior. That's essentially it for Drugs at FDA. It is, as I said, a very, very straightforward database with no frills. If you want something with a little more meat on it, you can go to DailyMed, which is also available under drug information on the Pharmacy Research Guide. And this is a similar database in the fact that it allows you to search drugs, get similar things like drug labels, but it's slightly more comprehensive in the fact that it has a more comprehensive search. You can browse drug classes. It has human and animal drugs, unlike Drugs at FDA. And it also has data sets that you can download of large sets of drug labels, should that ever be something that you need for your research. The basic search is very simple. Just searching for EpiPen again. You can see I get a fairly basic, straightforward entry with instructions here on the left. I can open highlights here if I press the pluses to get a little more information. And then one of the things that's most interesting about this database is here on the left, if I wanted to know more about a drug and find the research related to it, I could click this link for PubMed and be taken to articles directly linked to it in PubMed. I could click clinical trials and be taken to clinical trials directly related to this drug, biochemical data summaries, and then Medline Plus is a consumer resource. So if you needed patient education information, you could click Medline Plus and be taken there. And then you can see at the top here above the highlight, you can see this is where the drug label and official label information is kept. So this is slightly more comprehensive. DailyMed does warn you that it is not quite as up-to-date, or guaranteed at least to be as up-to-date as drugs at FDA, because that is where all the newest updates come out. But it has always remained very up-to-date when I've looked to find it. It is still more up-to-date than a site like drugs.com. Government sites are just guaranteed to be more reliable than commercial sites, so please get in the habit of using them instead. And then the last database we're going to cover very quickly, just so you're aware of it, is the dietary supplement label database. And if I open dietary supplements here on the PharmD student research guide, it's located right here. This database, which is managed by the National Institutes of Health, allows you to browse all supplement products, brands, and ingredients. And you can also search, and an example of what you will find in it is the following. You will see if it's currently on the market, off the market, and you will get relevant labels. You can also click into the entry and get significantly more product information. There are plenty more other databases available that you can explore under drug information and dietary supplements, most of which are free. A lot of them are through the FDA or other government resources. I suggest you take the time and browse through them and find some that might be of interest to you. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation. If you have any questions, please contact the Medical Center Library at mclib@uky.edu. That's MCLIB@uky.edu.